This is Karen Malillo with Wish Upon a Trip Travel in Somerset, New Jersey. My business is leisure, corporate, and incentive travel, so when the pandemic hit, I had a lot of free time on my hands once I got the refunds all done. I used that opportunity to become a road warrior and visit as many places as I could. Most of those trips were to the Caribbean, and I'm here today to share that experience with you. To start with, you need to figure out what the restrictions are for the country that you're visiting. They are ever-changing still. Most require a COVID test, some don't. Some require a health authorization form, but there's always a set of steps that you need to take. The airlines are actually responsible for enforcing that, so their websites are also a good resource for finding out what the restrictions are. In addition, you should look at the actual website for the country, as their regulations are changing on a regular basis. When I first started traveling, the airports were eerily empty. And when you got on the plane, you were handed a bag with a bottle of water and a hand sanitizer. Fortunately, things have loosened up quite a bit. And on most airlines, you can expect to get similar service to what you had before. You do still need to wear a mask all through the airport and also on the airlines, and that seems like it's going to be a thing for the foreseeable future. For the airlines, United has its ReadyPass system, and American Airlines has its Verifly app that you can help to load your documents up before you fly. Most check-ins will require a manual review of the documents, even though you have uploaded them online. American also has an app called Sherpa you can access from their website, which will tell you exactly what you need for each country, in addition to looking at the country itself. I've also found the local tourist boards to be extremely helpful. They've been able to tell me any regulations, what the transportation rules might be, help me find transportation, and of course set up site inspections so I could get the opportunity to look at a lot of different properties while I was traveling. For the countries that require testing, the first stop is usually a health officer as you enter the country. Most of them have been pretty organized, as they have been open for multiple months already. But you may also see a difference is in your transfers. Most companies are no longer using large buses for transfers, but smaller groups of people in each one. For example, Santos and Antigua now uses private taxis with a maximum of 4 passengers in their vans. You will also be required to wear a mask in the van, and they will also ask you to sanitize as well. Upon arriving at the resort, you'll be greeted with hand sanitizer. They will take your temperature, and then they will sanitize your luggage and have it transported to your room for you. Check-in processes are similar as what they were, except you won't find a lot of lines. They're trying to keep people spaced out as much as possible. When you arrive at your room, you will typically find a sticker on the door that states the room has been sanitized prior to your arrival. You will break the seal to go in, so you know that no one has been in the room since that has happened. When I first started traveling, the rooms were pretty bare. They weren't putting any toiletries in, and anything that came into the room came into a sealed and sanitized plastic bag. They also were not filling the mini bars. So what should you expect at the hotel? First off, it depends on the country and the actual property, as it varies amongst the properties. Most of them do require masks at some point. Typically, it's only going into a restaurant or maybe when you're ordering food outside. Some resorts actually do not require the guests to wear masks, but you will always find that the staff is wearing masks. What you may also encounter is that opening after COVID was very similar to a new hotel opening. The staff had to learn all sorts of new protocols, and for the most part, they had to start back with less than normal staff, as they were not at full occupancy and could not afford to bring their entire staff back. The countries that have been open for quite some time, for example, Cancun has been open for over a year, they should be pretty much back at full occupancy. You may experience understaffing and maybe not full resort services for the hotels that are just recently opened. Overall, the traveling was a great experience. All the employees were delighted to get back to work, and particularly to have guests. They're doing their best to try and make it as normal as possible so that you can enjoy your time on the island. Let's talk about getting back into the US. As of now, you are still required to get an antigen test to get back in the US. Many of the all-inclusive resort chains are including that in their service for no fee. Some others charge a small fee for it. If you're at a more independent resort, you may have to pay for it, but typically they will help you to arrange it, so it will not be difficult for you to get that done 72 hours prior to departure from the island. Also, the airlines have partnered with telemed providers to allow you to actually do the testing right from your room. You will call the telemed provider and they will watch you take the test, and that is an acceptable form of testing for the airlines. For example, United is using the SpinX test. You can either purchase it directly from the airline or typically at your local Walgreens or other pharmacy. American and Delta have similar partnerships. In the past year, I have visited about 25 resorts, and I can tell you I would be comfortable staying in any of them. All the hotels have the guest and staff safety as their highest priority. I think you will find the staff is going above and beyond all safety protocols, and I think you will also find that the airports in the other countries are actually following safety protocols even better than they are in the US.
Safe.
As long as my clients are ready to travel, I would feel safe sending them to any of the destinations I visited, which included Antigua, Jamaica, Punta Cana, and St. Martin. While the hotels were following slightly different protocols, safety was the top priority everywhere. To reiterate, most importantly, the first thing you need to do for your clients is to understand what the entry procedures are for the country. Even the ones that don't require COVID tests often require a health authorization to be filled out online prior to arriving. You should also help your clients plan for the return to the US and understand whether the hotel is providing the testing, whether they need to provide it on their own, and whether or not they will need to pay for it. Let's get ready for more safe travel to the Caribbean.